Hello everyone, my name is Eugene and today I want to talk to you about this little game called Dark Souls 3. This gem was gifted to me by a good friend who knew how much I loved Dark Souls 1 and 2. Before playing Dark Souls 3, I had only experienced the first two entries, so I began my Dark Souls 3 journey completely blind, live on stream. Right off the bat, the controls felt much better than in the previous games. I'm a keyboard and mouse player, and in Dark Souls 3 the input responsiveness was noticeably faster and smoother. It actually made the game a bit easier to handle. Starting off with a tutorial boss that felt like a mid-game boss in Dark Souls 1 made it immediately clear that I was going to enjoy the boss fights more than anything else. And I did. In fact, I think Dark Souls 3 features the best boss fights in any Soulsborne game, and that's what made me fall in love with it in the first place. I didn't really pay much attention to the interconnected world of Dark Souls 3 since teleportation is a built-in feature, unlike in Dark Souls 1 where you had to walk everywhere, until the mid-game when you discover teleportation. So Dark Souls 1 still takes the cake when it comes to level design, no question about it. That said, Dark Souls 3's Firelink Shrine immediately felt like home. Seeing all the familiar faces warmed my heart as I rushed to say hello to Andre, the beloved blacksmith from the first game. It felt wholesome and welcoming to see him again. Dark Souls 3's Firelink Shrine is by far my favorite hub in all the Soulsborne games. I also really enjoyed finding connections between Dark Souls 1 and 3, and Orlando was a brilliant example. Returning there felt surreal. The boss music for Aldrich was another clever nod, a haunting echo of Gwendolyn's theme, and the fact that Aldrich uses Gwendolyn's body and weapon to fight was a beautifully twisted surprise. These echoes of the past gave the game a powerful sense of continuity and history, like the world had truly decayed and carried its scars into the final chapter. But where Dark Souls 3 truly shines is in its boss fights. Every encounter felt like it had soul poured into it, no pun intended. The music fit perfectly. The process of learning each boss felt natural and exciting. Even the runs to the boss arenas felt like a meaningful part of the experience. Sure, ganking happens quite a bit, and in some areas is just as bad or even worse than in a fan-hated Dark Souls 2, but the boss runs aren't overly long, relatively speaking. Still, you might find yourself surrounded by overpowered mobs here and there. Even so, Dark Souls 3 wins over the second game in almost every other way. I personally enjoyed every second of it, from the weapon designs to the little quest lines. Though I didn't complete many on my first playthrough, I soloed my way through the game, as I usually do, through sheer determination. I still remember every boss and the strategies I used to defeat them. Among my favorites were the Nameless King, who took me around 4 hours, and the Soul of Cinder, an epic final boss for the base game and a brilliant throwback to Gwyn himself. The piano notes in the second phase hit hard. But the journey didn't end there. I entered the DLC. Right out the gate, I fell in love with the scenery in the painted world of Ariandel. It felt perfect for my character, Eugene the Hollow, especially considering the outfit. I felt like I had suddenly wandered into the world of Game of Thrones. It was beautiful, but not without its challenges. Finding my way around was like solving a puzzle. And then came the encounter with Frida, a fight I'll be talking about in a future video. If you don't want to miss it, make sure to subscribe. That fight alone secured Dark Souls 3's place as one of my favorite games of all time, with one of the best boss battles in gaming history. It was just that good. And even that wasn't the end. The Ring City awaited me with more brutal challenges, especially the Demon Prince, which took me about 4 hours to defeat. I loved every second of it. Surprisingly, I wasn't that impressed by the fight everyone said was one of the hardest. It only took me 11 attempts to beat the infamous dragon Midir. He was relatively easy, but still a visual spectacle. Then came the finale, and it was beautiful. I thoroughly enjoyed fighting Gale and witnessing the ending of the Dark Souls franchise. Dark Souls 3 ends the trilogy with a bang straight to the heart. It's a masterpiece worth not only playing but talking about for generations to come. One of the most beautiful and tragic stories in gaming. One of the few games that truly deserves a 10 out of 10. So is it worth it? Yes, absolutely. Thank you for watching, and as always, stay tuned, stay strong, see you on the next one.